We're out here at St Stephen's, Portland this week where Helen is a member. She's going to lead us in prayer very shortly, but before she does, she's willing to answer some questions for us for our encouragement. The most important thing about you, Helen, is that you follow Jesus. You live trusting him. Can you tell us how you came to follow Christ?
Well, I grew up in a Christian family, so I had a very good grounding. And I think there's something very special, actually, that happened to me. I was adopted when I was 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
But my birth mother specified that I had to be adopted by through the Salvation Army Adoption Centre by a Christian family.
Wow.
And that's what happened. Well, when I met her, Nicholas was 18 months old, and she just looked, and then she met my father, and she said, "My prayers have been answered." And I think that just shows the hand that God had right from the very, very start.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I just had wonderful parents, fantastic minister as I was growing up, and a slightly troubled sister, and he and his family were a great support to our family. My dad's family were all Christians. They were all Sallys with a lot of vibrancy about them. And my mum was the only Christian in her family, but a very, very solid, dedicated, Bible-based woman.
Yes.
So I was very fortunate.
That's fantastic, Helen. I love the fact that you mentioned, the influence of family and growing that, but even more God's hand upon it all. Always having you right from the start, right from birth. We're in an unusual situation, as you know, at the moment. Lockdown is, I suppose, challenging our desire to love others. We still have that desire. It hasn't stopped you. I know this. It hasn't stopped you. How have you sought to love, first of all, fellow Christians in this time of lockdown?
Well, I will admit that I had 2 weeks reeling and not wanting to get out of bed because everything had suddenly gone. And it was Miriam, my daughter, who said to me one day, "I'm really, really concerned about the isolation people are going to be experiencing."
Yeah.
And I think it was prompted by the thought of her co-workers in Adelaide who were suddenly in flats on their own.
Yep.
And she said, "What can we do?" And it started from there.
Yep.
I thought of one person, and then I thought, there's notice sheets. So it started with 3 being put in letterboxes of some of the very, very solid Christian ladies from the Uniting Church.
Yep.
I got phone calls saying, "Oh, thank you so much," which surprised me. I now have a little collection that includes people from here and the Uniting, and I've just kept doing it. And then you'll walk past and someone's head pops out. "Oh, thank you. Can we talk?"
Yeah.
And we're doing it at 1.5 over fences and gates.
Yes.
But there's not been one person who has not appreciated getting a notice sheet or just having a face. And Miriam will come with me, and we sometimes go and sit on their porch with the appropriate distance.
Yep.
But I've really enjoyed that, actually. It's something I had a bit of before, but this has deepened it all.
Isn't that great? That even as we're apart, it's actually deepened the possibilities.
Yes. And it was, as I said, it was Miriam that prompted it, but I'd been praying, well, what am I going to do, Lord? I can't stay in bed for the next 6 months.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I know you're dropping in newsletters, copies of the printed sermon, those kind of things. But I know that there are some meals being snuck out, some shopping being done for people as well that you don't want to mention, but I just did. On similar lines, though, can you tell us the opportunities you've had to love people who aren't yet believers?
Yes, there are a couple of people who I got to know when Terry and I were door knocking. And I have felt quite comfortable keeping the contact up. Yep. And they're all people who are in fairly tough spots at the moment. Yep. And I was very encouraged when one said to me, "Oh, Helen, I've got to try and get my relationship with God right before I can deal with anything else in my life."
Yeah, wow.
And I just thought, wow. So I rang Terry, and he's aiding in that.
Yep.
And it'll be a slow process because this person's very traumatised. And then others are just not well.
Yes.
They're not well. and they don't take kindly to somebody saying, you really mustn't go out your front door. We will look after you.
Yep.
One of them, Miriam, goes in gloved and masked to do the shopping, so that when she sees the person, she's gloved and masked,
Yep.
and no chance of us being a cause.
Yeah.
And just knocking on the odd door
Yeah.
of people that, as I said, Terry and I met.
Yep. Yep.
Not a lot. I'm just praying that a few more pop up.
Yes. Well, interesting. You mentioned prayer. You're going to lead us in prayer. Can you just finish by telling us what role prayer has played in your loving of others?
Oh, couldn't do it without it.
Yeah, good.
Couldn't do it without it. I remember what Mary Eve said months ago when she said, I do it because Jesus first loved us.
Yes.
And I thought that was the best answer I think I'd ever heard to anything.
Yep.
But I've definitely had to pray a lot about this situation because I find it hard. I know others are finding it very difficult.
Yes.
And I get out in the garden, I go for a walk, and I just find I'm talking to God, and it's all the little minutiae of life.
Yep.
Just as I said, the little things.
Yes.
And then some of the big things, they creep in and you think, yes, Lord, I need to leave that one with you. You'll show me what to do.
Yeah. Fantastic.